helped discuss East Asian firearms. Let's shift our sights slightly on the map to Southeast Asia. Generally, we tend to think that firearms in the East, specifically the true matchlock musket, were introduced by the Portuguese in the early 16th century. This is one of the ways the musket entered Eastern history. This is despite the fact that the oldest surviving firearm, the Heilongjiang hand cannon, dated to 1288, was found in the Cheng district, where the history of Yuan records intense battles. However, in Southeast Asia, the origin of firearms actually followed a different path, one that started even earlier than the arrival of the Portuguese. It all began with the spread of Islam. As a Muslim merchant arrived in Southeast Asia, early firearm techniques likely traveled alongside these goods. This might explain why the Portuguese were met with surprise when they were attacked by Malay forces, as well as the port city of Malacca in 1511. It's important to note that these early firearms weren't the refined snap matchlocks we see today. Historical accounts suggest the spy pens used against the Portuguese might have been a type called the Bedil tombak. In Malay and Japanese, Bedil is a broad term for any gun, while tombak means spear, or pike. This early firearm likely reached Java in the 1400s, and suspect a similar story unfolded across the rest of Southeast Asia. It seems Islamic style firearms were already established before the Portuguese arrived. Just by digging a little deeper into these origins, we find so many topics awaiting discovery. This is why I decided to treat Southeast Asia as its own individual series. There are simply too many stories to tell. Beyond these origins, Southeast Asia has another fascinating historical layer. For centuries, people from southern China and the southwest ethnic minorities maintained extensive trade with the region. Groups like the Hakka and the Cantonese migrated there for nearly 100 years. During the age of exploration in the 1500s, silver from the Americas flowed into China via Southeast Asia, while Chinese silk, tea, and porcelain were exported through Fujian and Guangdong. Even though the Ming and the Qing dynasties imposed the maritime bans, history shows that people always find a way around administrative rules. Additionally, in the 1700s, the Qing government implemented the abolition of the two-seat system in the southwest. The political pressure led groups like the Miao and the Yao to migrate south into Myanmar, Laos, and northern Vietnam. These migrations formed the mountain ethnic groups we see today, such as the ancestors of the Hmong. For those familiar with Southeast Asian firearms, the Hmong are likely no strangers. Their snap-lock musket is one of the most distinctive in the world, and we'll dive into its details in the future. We don't know for sure if firearm techniques traveled with these migrants from China or if they were a result of mutual inspiration and improvement. However, we can see similarities between Southeast Asian and the Hakka firearms. For instance, both the Hmong and Hakka muskets often feature a similar short butt stock used as a handle. That said, after the Portuguese introduced the snap matchlock, their influence likely outweighed that of the early Muslim merchants. This is probably why most Southeast Asian firearms after the 16th century, such as Malay, Vietnamese, and even some simpler Javanese muskets, are snap matchlocks, making them very similar to Japanese matchlocks. By creating this new category, we can better piece together these historical puzzles. So, that is the overview of Southeast Asian firearms. Thank you for watching. Take care, stay safe, and I will see you next time.